Hello, I'm now in the office of Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trading in Auckland. I'd like to have an interview with the Ambassador of New Zealand to Korea, Mr. Philip Turner. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
What made you come to Auckland this time?
So I've been ambassador in Seoul now for exactly 1 year. So I thought it was a good time to come and spend some time in New Zealand, just sharing with New Zealanders what I've learned. It's also nearly 4 years since the free trade agreement between Korea and New Zealand was implemented. There are some exciting things happening in the relationship, in the business relationship. Many tariffs are now falling quickly, creating new opportunities. So I wanted to check in with the New Zealand business community and with other stakeholders in the Korean relationship, just to kind of help raise the profile of Korea a little for New Zealanders and see what other opportunities there might be that we can help with.
At the moment, the situation of South and North Korea changes very much recently. What do you think about the situation of North and South Korea?
It's complex and challenging. This is an issue that has been around for many, many decades, as all Korean people know. We were all, I think, encouraged by the dialogue and the summits that happened over the last year. From exactly a year ago, the Panmunjom summit between President Moon and Chairman Kim, and then subsequent summits with China, the United States, of course, and most recently with Russia. But here we are a year later, and it's still a frustratingly difficult situation. I think the New Zealand government recognises that this is a complex, challenging situation. It's going to take time to resolve it, for sure. We commend the efforts of everyone involved, including President Moon and President Trump, in at least getting us to dialogue. Having dialogue is way better than having tense situations such as we had in 2017. So we have at least a framework for dialogue, and we very much hope that that will go forward. And New Zealand, for our part, the government is committed to New Zealand doing its part to support the process of peace and denuclearization on the peninsula.
North Korea launched its second ballistic missile in a week. What do you think is the purpose of launching the missile test?
That's very difficult to say. I think if you knew the mind of the leadership in Pyongyang, that would be great. I'm very interested to know the answer to that question, like everybody else is. All I can reiterate is that this is a situation that's been around for many decades. It's challenging, it's complex, and it's going to take time to take it forward. But dialogue is definitely the key to progress.
It means a New Zealand policy to Korea is supporting Korea?
Of course, New Zealand has long been a strong supporter of the Republic of Korea and of peace and denuclearization on the peninsula. So New Zealand does our bit. Obviously, we've been involved since the Korean War. 6,000 New Zealand troops served in Korea. 45 or so died during that conflict. And we still have New Zealanders today through the United Nations Command actually serving on the ground in Korea, 6 of them as we speak. So New Zealand has consistently been a supporter of the process of peace in the peninsula, and we will continue to be so.
And what do you think about the trade, tourism, or industrial cooperation between Korea and New Zealand after the free trade agreement?
It's going pretty well. I think we're seeing pleasing growth in trade since the FTA was implemented. We've now got more than $5.2 billion of two-way trade. Exports from New Zealand last year were up around 20%. Exports from Korea to New Zealand were up even more. So business is going pretty well. I think we've seen a big impact, particularly in food and beverage from New Zealand to Korea. Products like kiwi fruit, dairy products, avocados, mussels, these products are highly sought after by Korean consumers. Education numbers are pretty good. Korea is our 4th largest source of students to New Zealand. And even though outward students from Korea generally are down since consistently since the global financial crisis. In fact, numbers to New Zealand are slightly up, so that's pleasing. Tourism has been pretty good, although there was a bit of a dip in the last half of last year. But we're very excited to see Air New Zealand announcing they're flying into Seoul from Auckland in November this year. And so we're hopeful that that will create a big boost to travel and to tourism from Korea.
And we, Korean TV here, are making a documentary program regarding Korean War veterans.
Yes.
And unfortunately, one Korean War veteran missed in Korean War. You know that information? Bob Marchionne.
Yes, that's right. I'm very aware of that. It's a very tragic story. Young Bob Marchionne, who was only 19 years old, died in 1951 on a beach in Korea. And his body has never been recovered, which is very sad. But there is a burial plot for him at the United Nations Memorial Cemetery in Busan. And I visited there last year with his brother, Tony Marchionne. In fact, I have a photograph here. I don't know if you can see that.
His younger brother.
This is his younger brother, Tony. And this is at the cemetery in Busan last November, where Tony came to pay his respects and lay a wreath. And I have a photo somewhere of the two of us at the cemetery. So that was very moving, really, to be able to share that moment with Tony. As I say, about 45 New Zealanders lost their lives in Korea, but Bob was the only one whose remains have not been found to this day, unfortunately.
We are going to visit Korea at the end of this month and till the beginning of June. And can I find some evidence or something like that regarding Bob?
Well, you can certainly go to the burial plot in Busan. We have never found his remains. We hope that one day they may be recovered, but it was on the northern side, so we'll have to hope that maybe his body has been found and buried somewhere in North Korea. But apart from that, there are, of course, a large number of New Zealanders in the cemetery in Busan, about 32 now. And last year, in fact, we had a very moving ceremony when two of those bodies were repatriated. They were brought back from the cemetery in Busan to New Zealand. Because the government now has a policy whereby anyone who died in national service overseas since 1955, if their families wish, they can bring the bodies back to New Zealand for burial with family graves or cemeteries in New Zealand. And two of the families have chosen to do so in this case. So that was a very impressive and moving event last year.
We'll visit Busan UN Cemetery next week.
Oh, well, that's
next month. Yeah.
Well, it's a very beautiful cemetery.
Yeah.
They do a great job of looking after all of the bodies of the veterans there. And it's not just New Zealanders, of course. There are lots of Americans and British, Australians, Turkish. Yeah. Many nations lost their lives. Their troops lost their lives in Korea. It's a very impressive spot.
Finally, can you say some greetings to the audience?
여러분 안녕하십니까? 저는 주한뉴질랜드대사 필리프입니다. 반갑습니다. How would that do?
You can speak Korean.
Not at all. Only a little bit.
Just 1 year.
조금만.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
감사합니다.